Hey there, G3XE here. Today I'm doing another Dungeon Workshop video. This one's about how to make great Dungeons and Dragons characters. And no, I'm not talking about how to take the best stats, mix with the best feats, mix with the best class race combo to create a powered up character that can deal the most damage. I'm talking about a great character in the literary, in the cinematic sense. Now, when you think of books and movies, there are two types of characters. There are main characters and there are side characters. The difference between a main character and a side character is that main characters have an arc and side characters do not. While there's the overall plot story arc, each main character will have, if it's a movie or book worth its salt, their own character arc. I can't stress the importance enough of make a character arc for your character. A dungeon master who's any good will pick up on those and start interweaving those stories into theirs, right? This is why you don't focus on writing the entire story before the session, before the campaign begins. Because the story's going to change. This is why you write the people and the places and the things, right? And you change them up as you go to fit this arc of all your different characters. Hopefully, different character arcs can mesh together or play off each other to create very cinematic scenes or interesting, dichotomies and stuff like that. But even if not, it is far better to have a character with a story arc that you've come up with than a flat side character who has one or two personality traits. So, if you have a dwarf warrior and they like gold and they're a little stingy, right? Those are good character traits, but that's a side character because there's no arc. That's all you've decided, and you're basically sitting and you're being passive in the back seat of the car, and you're making the DM drive you around because there is no story happening when we just focus in on your character. There needs to be this entertainment to make him feel like the character is in an interesting situation, and that puts way more work on the DM. What would be better is you make a character arc before the campaign begins. So you say, this campaign, my character, he's greedy, he's stingy, he likes gold, but he's going to learn that friendship is more valuable than gold. Little corny, cliche, but, whatever. A character arc such as that, anything so that when you are just in the sort of like role play intermediate areas, when the DM says, okay, so you travel for a week through this woods, you can say, well, as we're traveling, you describe a few scenes. You say, well, my character is exchanging stories, and maybe he talks with this bard who has all these great stories, and he doesn't have any because he doesn't really have anyone in his life that he cares about, and he starts feeling like, I guess I don't have any, right? And then maybe towards the end, in the climactic scenes, you could have the treasure, right? This hoard that they've been going after, but his other friend's in danger, or one of the party members who's become a friend is in danger, and he can either go heal him or go grab the gold, and you sell that, you make that, gold, but, and then you could, if you wanted to have him be almost like end up a villain in the end, you could go for the gold, but mostly you want to go, you go for the player. He's learned a lesson, he's completed a story arc. That's a very simplified one, but those are what sells a character. Not an interesting trait, although that is part of it, but an interesting story arc. I'm learning this through a campaign that I'm playing in right now, which is really fun. And I challenged myself to play a class that I normally would never ever touch with a 10-foot pole, and that is the Bard. I do play guitar in real life. I very much enjoy music. I've always found the Bard class very silly. The idea of a battle erupting and someone getting their instrument out and inspiring with magical music never really got me. So I said, okay, I'm going to challenge myself to be a Bard. How would I make this Bard cool? So my character is named Jacobiah T. Brugwood Slither the Third, but he's a lizard folk, country western, kind of haggard, uh, drunken has been folk singer, right? And but he goes by No Tail because the tip of his tail was bitten off by a shark, but also because there ain't no tail that he can't tell. And you see, he plays. I bring my guitar to the sessions, and I have certain songs I've written for different spells, but he barely uses them. When combat comes around, he he tries not to kill anyone, but he uses his claws. He never like this one player was getting mad at me out of character, saying you could bardic inspiration me, and I'm like, but Jacobiah wouldn't take out his guitar. Jacobiah is like, well, if I'm getting into a bar brawl, I guess and he's getting his claw on, he might bite a man, straight up, as lizard folk are wont to do. But his story arc, because we're going up into these Arctic mountains, is just him realizing, well, his background, which I've kind of released a little bit of in each session, is that he loved this woman, this lizard folk woman, didn't reciprocate feelings, and in a fit of drunken rage one night, killed her. So he's a terrible guy, really. Like he has anger issues, and beyond that is a murderer. But that's been a while, and he feels, he's kind of drinks away the pain of that experience, and has run away from all responsibility from it, and feels this overwhelming sense of guilt, right? And he self-medicates with alcohol, and just deep down feels like he deserves nothing, like he deserves just to be killed, essentially, right? And he, to kind of cope with it, is also said to himself he doesn't ever want to kill anyone again. So I don't. Like, I might claw a dude every now and again, try and pacify someone, but he doesn't kill, and he warns everyone else against from killing and tries actively to stop them. Because he's just really got this guilt that he's projecting on everyone, right? Anyway, so his character arc as they're going up to this cold mountain is that he's not sure he's coming back down. Because number one, he's a lizard folk, cold-blooded. I'm wrapped in furs, but he can't keep his warmth going long enough, and there isn't anyone in the party who can cast any warming spells. And he's running out of whiskey, which is his only way of keeping warm right now. So beyond that fact that it just may not be physiologically possible for him to come back down, it's also this metaphor of him coming to terms, and this is all in my head, right? But coming to terms with the terrible thing he's done, right? He has a song where he admits to this, to what he's done, in his healing song, right? So like, one of the players, like before, and they're a little metagame, power gamery. They roleplay, but reluctantly. You have to get them to roleplay, right? And she's like, is anyone playing a healer? We have to have a healer. We don't all want to be tanks. So I'm like, yeah, I'm a healer. I don't tell her anything else. I have one healing spell, right? And I barely use it. I've used it once now. Because he doesn't like to heal it. Because his whole thing is that the music only has magical properties when it comes from the soul. Otherwise, it just is music, right? So his healing song says, healing song, hear my one wish, that you'd heal my guilty mind as well as you heal my flesh. And then goes on to tell the tale. So he's racked by this guilt, right? Don't know what is going to happen at the end of the quest, but I do foresee maybe an ending where he sacrifices himself, he holds off, enemies so to let the other people escape, because he really has this deep down need to, like, put himself down to feel, justice is served, because he knows that he's done this terrible, terrible thing. So that's, half of that's in my head. Some of it I'm dropping here and there for people. Some of it I'm out of character telling straight up, like, hey, my character is an alcoholic. You see him nipping at his whiskey day in, day out, trying to hide it, but not doing a very good job of it, that type of stuff. But I'll also roleplay it, and then I'll also just keep some of it in my head to release later. And that arc really helps tell that story and make that character memorable. You don't want a character who has no arc but just one flat reaction, right? So maybe their reaction is that they find things disgusting and they're aloof, maybe an elf, right? But aloof and above everything, like, oh, how gross. I will slay this orc, but ugh, I do not want its blood on me. It's interesting. It's a good character. It has some roleplay potential. But add an arc to whatever character you do, a character arc, and that will turn your Dungeons and Dragons character into a main character and not a side character just tag along for the ride. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanks.